Your experience visiting Iran as an American, but using a Turkish passport for entry. You finally get this idea in your mind. I want to visit the forbidden country of Iran. You realize doing it with an American passport can take months to approve, have a government approved guide monitoring you at all times. You can't move around freely. You can't really do what you want. But you realize something amazing. I also have a Turkish passport. I can bypass all those restrictions because Turkish passport holders do not need a guide with them at all times. They can explore the country completely freely, and better yet, they can get into Iran completely visa-free. You go to the airport in Istanbul, you show your Turkish passport, you get through security, and you get on Turkish Airlines business class from Istanbul to Tehran. Let's say it's an hour and a half hour flight or a 2 hour flight. You land in Tehran at Imam Khomeini Airport. You then walk across that jet bridge and into passport control for foreign nationals. You're nervous. A Turkish passport still shows I was born in Chicago, USA. Will they say anything? And to your amazement, you know what happens? Absolutely nothing. Nothing happens at all. You're stamped through without a word and you enter. They barely even looked at you. You're like, wow, me buying a Turkish passport/citizenship really made a difference. You then get a taxi and go to your luxury hotel in the center of Tehran. You have a nice dinner and you go to bed. The next day, you go to the Grand Bazaar, you go to Golestan Palace and really explore the city. You brought a lot of euros to Iran so you can go shopping. First place you go to is the Grand Bazaar because you want to buy an expensive Persian rug, and since you have cash, they'll give you a good deal. You buy a $9,000 Persian rug there. You then go see the Shah's palace. Friendly locals approach you. They hear you speaking English, and they are absolutely delighted and overjoyed that an American visited their country. You tell them that you also have Turkish citizenship, and with this, you were able to get in visa-free without a guide. Everyone you meet thinks this is the coolest thing ever, that you beat the system, that's a smart travel hacker. You start getting people's Instagram and WhatsApp numbers. You meet many local people. You get a lot of local girls' numbers too. Maybe you can go back to Iran at some point and date them. You never know. You've been to Passport Bro before. You've been to Belize, you've been to Guatemala, you've been to Thailand, meeting different women, so why not try Iran? Well, Iran is a strict Islamist theocracy. If they catch you dating there might be some consequences. However, since you're a foreigner and you have Turkish citizenship, the worst that might happen, you might get deported, you might spend a night in jail, but more than likely, because Iran and Turkey share a close relationship, they would be very hesitant to torture a Turkish citizen and put them in jail. That would cause a lot of problems with Turkey. So after you see Tehran for 4 or 5 days, you decide to get to Isfahan. You're like, how do I get here? You go to a local travel agent in Tehran. You get a cheap first-class Iran Air ticket to Isfahan. For only $50, you get first class. You get lounge access at the airport. You get to sit on the front row of the plane. You're like, damn, how's this even freaking possible? So after 45 minutes to an hour, you land in Isfahan. You stay at a nice hotel there. That literally is only 60 or 70 a night. It is absolutely beautiful. It looks very poetic. It looks very ancient. You go to the main square in Isfahan and explore. You explore the mosque. You explore the various shops. You buy more souvenirs and you buy more rugs. You're like, oh my gosh, this is so amazing. You spend 4 or 5 days. You even see the historic Armenian church that's in Isfahan. Traveling in Iran, you realize this is a really complicated place. Yes, no doubt, the regime is extremely cruel and brutal. Yes, it is a dictatorship. Yes, there is a lack of personal freedom. However, there is an innocence, warmth, and kindness with the local people. And you see something else that's very, very shocking. Most of the people you see there, most of the women, they're not even wearing hijab. They're not even covering their hair. Because so many people are defying it, the state cannot arrest everyone. They cannot put everyone into jail. So it's an uneasy piece. As a tourist, it is really, really dirt cheap for yourself. You can go to nice restaurants, fly first class domestic flights everywhere, get cheap taxis, but because of Western sanctions against Iran, the local people are very, very broke and desperate. They do not live the lifestyle you live there. They do not enjoy the restaurants you go to eat there. You notice that, and a profound sense of sorrow envelops you. You realize whatever the faults of the regime might be, the sanctions, they don't affect the dictatorship one bit. They still have a mansion. The government officials still have their houses. They still have their sports cars. They still have their offshore bank accounts. They can afford to send their children to the best schools in America, the same country the regime hysterically chants death to every Friday night in the local prayers sessions in some of the regime-backed mosque. But you realize a lot of them don't even believe it. They're sending their kids to the great Satan, to America. You realize this country is a place of extreme contradiction, and it is an extremely, extremely complex area to travel to. You realize because you have a Turkish passport, you can travel alone without a guide. You didn't have to wait 3 months to get a visa. You just walked right in. Most Americans would not have this level of freedom that you have there. They would have to have a government-approved tour guide at all times with you, and you would not have this level of freedom to really explore and see the country. You then get on a Turkish Air business class flight back to Istanbul when you leave Tehran for the last time. You fly back to Istanbul. Luckily for you, you have an apartment there where you can get all your rugs, souvenirs, and put it in there. That way, when you come back to America, U.S. Customs and Border Protection will not be seizing your rugs or your souvenirs. Actually, there's nothing they can do about it really at all. And because Iran is a cash-only country, primarily due to sanctions, there's really no paper trail of what you bought there. The U.S. government cannot fine you or prosecute you for what you did there. You paid in cash to a travel agent in Istanbul to book your flight and hotels. There's no paper trail of this existing. And because the trip was under $10,000, it won't be reported to the IRS or to the Turkish tax agency. You are literally a travel ghost, an anomaly in the system, something that should not exist, but nevertheless still does. 7 years go by. The year is now 2025. Iran has added AI computer systems to all their passport scanners at their airports to flag people that have American birth cities on their passports but are using a different country's passport to try to skirt around the travel regulations about not having a guide. When you went in 2018, the system was still analog. They weren't enforcing that as much. If you had a different passport, you look back and you think, dang, I got to experience Iran before these new rules were implemented. I could not do this now. If I did this now, there is a very high likelihood that I would be thrown into Evan prison in some medieval dungeon because they would want to use me as a bargaining chip. 2018, I was just an American with a different passport, but now I would be something they would try to exact concessions out of, to try to get sanctions relief out of Washington. It would be a miserable experience. I can look back and be thankful that I avoided this grim fate.